Hello everyone, in this I'm going to show you another functionality. That is nothing but assigning trainers or adding trainers to a particular workshop. Now if you look into the database, here I have workshops and here I have a table where I'm just trying to map trainer and workshop. So I haven't assigned any trainer to any workshop. Now I'll just look for all the workshops. I'll select a particular workshop. Now this is the add button. You can see this is disabled. So what I will do, I'll select a workshop, then I'll say add trainers. Now once I say add, you will see a pop-up. That means I'm going to make a jQuery call to show a pop-up. So it is showing a pop-up. In the pop-up, I have list of trainers. So as of now, I have only two trainers. Now I'll say assign Muhammad and I'll say add. Now you should see a trainer assigned to a workshop 1000. Let's see, workshop 1000, trainer 2 is assigned. Now let us see how to implement this functionality. So here I have the form. I'll say search. So it has listed all the workshops. Now let me go and add a div tag, and in that I'll be adding a list of trainers and assign button. So already we have seen this kind of functionality in our earlier videos. So I have the div tag ready with me. Now the ID of div tag is my pop-up. I have a checkbox list. It says CKBL trainers. So I'll be listing all the trainers in this checkbox. And I have a button, and on click I'm going to assign that. Now here I have list box. Now I want all the trainers to be listed in page load itself. So I'll just go say view code. So I have code ready with me. If not, is post back. So in the initial load I'm going to get all the trainers. Get all trainers is the same code that we wrote in our earlier videos. I'm creating the object of business. Then I'll say get trainers. Then I'm assigning the list to the checkbox list, and then I'm binding it. Save this. Now whenever I say add, I should add that. So even this thing I have implemented in our earlier video. So I have that code ready with me. So whenever I say add, I'm trying to create a list of trainer workshops. So I'm going to assign that particular workshop to that trainer. So I get workshop ID from the grid view selected value. Then I'm going to iterate through all the items of the checkbox list, and I'm going to add it to the list. Finally, I'm going to submit it. So this thing we have implemented in our earlier video, the functionality. Now let me execute this. Search workshops. Now I'll select this workshop and I'll check this. Now you can see in database. Let me delete this. I do not have any trainer assigned to any workshop. I'll say assign. Now I'll say add. Now you see that it has got added. But that's fine. This is fine. Functionality is fine. Now what I want, I don't want this to be displayed this way, this div tag. What I'll do, I'll select and I'll have an add button here. Whenever I click that add button, it should display this div tag in pop-up. So let me add an add button. So above this grid view, basically it is in disable mode, because unless and until I select a record, it should not get enabled. So that once I select the record, then it should get enabled. Then I can click on that and it should show a pop-up. So I need to enable this in grid view selected event. btn add trainers dot enabled equals to true. This is fine. Now you can see that this is in disable mode. I'll say search. Once I select, it gets enabled. Now whenever I click this add button, it should display this div in a pop-up. So initially this div should be hidden, and whenever I say add, it should display this div in pop-up. So I should convert this div into pop-up. So how do I do that? I need jQuery for that. So I'll just right click on my project, then I'll say manage NuGet packages. I need to install jQuery. So I'll say install jQuery. I also need jQuery UI. I'll install this. Yes to all. So close. Now you can see this. I get jQuery and jQuery UI. Now in content head, I'll drag and drop some script. So I'm adding both the script files here, jQuery and jQuery UI. Then I have a small function that I have written. Initially, I don't want my pop-up, that is this div tag, to open. So auto open is false. Next, whenever I click this button, there is nothing but btn trainers, add trainers. It should not make a post back. So I'll say that I'll drag that event dot prevent default. So it should not make a post back. I'm preventing that event, and I'm trying to open that pop-up. So I'll save this. Now let me execute this, and let us see whether it works as per our expectation or not. So I'll say search workshop. Now you can see that it is not at all showing that div tag, because it is now a dialog box and it is initially hidden. Now I'll say search. I'll select. You can see that this add button got enabled. Now whenever I click add, it is not displaying that pop-up. Why? Because let me right click on add button and say inspect element. You can see the ID of add button is content placeholder 1 underscore btn add trainer. So I need to use this ID to track the event. Instead of that, I can do one more thing. I can use the latest feature of ASP.NET 4.0, and I'll say client ID mode equals to static. That means if at all this control is inside some master page, it should not change the ID. Now I have saved this. Let me refresh this. Select, got enabled. Now I'll just right click and say inspect element. You can see that the ID is btn add trainers. Now if I say add, it is showing me a pop-up. That is really cool. Now I'll say assign this, and I'll say add. Whenever I say add, it is not at all making a post back, because whenever I say add, it should make a post back and it should trigger this event, but it is not at all making a post back. Why? Because let me right click and say inspect element. You can see this is the form and the input button. This button should be inside this form tag. You can see this, it is outside the form tag. This is dialog UI. That's fine. So my form tag is here and my div tag is here. So this is not in a form. If I want a submit button to make a post back, it should be inside the form. So how do I add this dialog inside the form. So I can use, or I can append this dialog to the form. How do I do that? You can see this, my popup dot parent dot append to the form. So this is how I append to the form. So div tag inside that form tag. Now let me save this and execute it. I'll say search, select 1007, I'll say add, I'll assign both the trainers and I'll say add. Now it is hitting server event, I'll say F5. So it should have added 1007. Now let me execute this. You can see this 1007, I have assigned two trainers, 2 and 4. Now if I right click on this and say inspect element, you should find this inside the form tag. You can see that. Now that is inside the form tag. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much.